Welcome everybody, I'm Lisa. I'm from the Monday Morning Cooking Club and here today for Dinera. And I just want to give a shout out to Dinera. What they're putting on, or what we are putting on, is absolutely amazing. And I know I've just been focusing on the food, but as I said earlier, if you heard Ilan Kidron yesterday at 4 o'clock was unbelievable. So if you're interested in music, just listening in the background, just check out what's coming up. And we've got lots of food stuff coming up in the next week. On Thursday at 11, I'm going to be chatting with Melissa to this amazing young guy called Michael Shafran, who started the Brooklyn Boy Bagels in Sydney. And he's got a great story. And then next Monday, Melissa's going to be here cooking, teaching you about her pickles that's been passed down for generations in her family, how to pickle things. So that'll be fun. And then the following week, Thursday the 18th, I will be baking babka with Bet. So we've got Australia's foremost Bette Midler. It's Kath Alcorn who actually plays Bette Midler so brilliantly, and I will be teaching her how to make babka. So that's going to be a bit of song, a bit of cooking, lots of chat and a lot of laughs. So I hope you can join me there. So let's start. Okay, almond meringue torte. Let's just go through the ingredients that you need for those of you who are cooking along. We're going to start. You need half a cup of almonds, roasted almonds. So you can either buy them roasted or you can roast them yourself. I did a batch yesterday, 160 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes. Stir them from time to time. Just keep checking them. Remember, when you take them out of the oven and they're hot, they're not going to be crunchy yet because they're hot. So you've got to wait. So it's sort of hard. I take a couple of nuts out of the oven and I leave them for a few minutes and then I taste them and then I decide. And remember, you can always put them back in. You can never undo too much cooking. So rather take them out, let them get cold, put them back in again. They need to be really, really crunchy and toasted. Okay, so half a cup of almonds divided in half. Then we need 2 egg whites, 125 grams of icing sugar, 2 teaspoons of vinegar, and I've just used this supermarket white vinegar, which does the trick. And then 1.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder, and I really recommend that you buy a good quality one. The Cadbury's one's okay, but you'll get a much better flavour if you can buy, there's a one called Equigold that's really nice and not too expensive, and then of course there's Valrhona, which is fantastic. But you know, and if you've got the Cadbury one, you know that by all means use it. So that's for the meringue layers. Then for the filling, we need 300 mils of cream, which is 1 tub. The other half of the almonds that we divided. You need 50 grams of dark chocolate. I'm just using the lovely Lindt 70%. I find it really easy to chop because it's so thin and snaps really nicely. And berries. So I'm using blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries, a half a cup of each. If you've just got strawberries, by all means use strawberries. If you've got other fruit that you like, use other fruit. You just want to choose a fruit that's not going to turn to mush, that might sit well in the fridge for a few days once it's in the torte. So just choose your fruit with that in mind. The thing about this torte that I love is that this is a half-size version of what we have in the book. So we have a lot of big things in the book, you know, for entertaining and for big families and that sort of thing. But during this time, I think it's important to make things for 1 person or for 2 people. And you can make this today. Let's say you're on your own. Tonight, you'll have a quarter of it, and it will be a delicious crisp meringue with cream and fruit. You'll be able to taste them all separately. Tomorrow, it's going to be a little bit more sort of condensed and delicious. And then in 2 or 3 days, it's going to be like one dessert. The meringue will go into the cream, the meringue will get softer, the fruit will be really well combined with all the other ingredients, and it becomes a different sort of dessert. So what you're doing is getting a dessert that keeps on keeping on. And I think that's really important. You don't want a dessert that you're going to eat tonight and then it's no good tomorrow. So this ticks all the boxes. Okay, enough talking. I'm sorry, apologies in advance. I am going to use the mixer today, and I've listened to all my mixers yesterday to see which is the quietest. And actually, this is the quietest one. It's quieter than the handheld. So I'm using this. You can use a handheld. You can use a whisk by hand, but you know, you need to keep working. So you need a strong arm. All right, so let's start with the nuts. So the nuts, no, actually before we start with the nuts, we're going to talk about something else. For this dish, we need 3 discs of meringue. And the question is, well, how do you do your meringue? Do you just eyeball it? Do you need anything special? And the way I do it is as follows. So get your baking paper, something I discovered the other day, which is, did you know how rolls fall out of the thing all the time? Did you know that at the end of Glad Wrap baking paper foil, there's a little tab that you push in on each side and it stops it from falling out? It's just unbelievable. For me, it's life-changing because I never knew. I did a survey on Instagram and 70% of the people didn't know. So there you go. So we need a bit of baking paper. And I'm going to trace some circles, and we need them to be 14 centimetres, pretty much more or less. And I've measured, I have a ruler in the kitchen all the time, and I've measured this cereal bowl. It is 14 centimetres from there to there. And we're going to use a black pencil or a texter, and we're just going to trace it 3 times. And this is the easiest way to do it. 1, and keep probably 2 to 3 centimetres between each one if you can. So I'm just tracing around it. Sometimes text is better because you can see it better when we turn it over. So then we need a baking tray. I'm just using my old favourite, which you've all seen before. And I'm going to use canola oil spray, which is my glue in the kitchen, but I don't really want to taste. I just want to use it to stick things on. Okay. And then I'm taking my traced paper and I'm going to turn it upside down and put it like that. Now, if you're worried about staining your tin, because it will stain if it's texture, put another piece of baking paper on the tin, spray that, and then put this on top. If you leave the pencil up or the texture up, what'll happen is you'll get meringues with texture on the outside or lead pencil on the outside, which you really don't want. So that way you've got your circles to follow and it's safe and it's easy. So I'm just going to put that aside for the moment. Okay, so let's start. We're going to separate 2 eggs because obviously we need egg whites. And I always like to have 3 glasses because, you're sometimes going to break a yolk and you're going to get the yolk in the white. And the worst thing for whipping egg whites or whisking egg whites is any fat or yolk, because it'll just stop them from getting as voluminous as you want them to. So I'm quite careful when I crack, and I really make sure that there's no yolk. And if the yolk falls in, then I just put that in the fridge for another day. And I keep see this yolk's broken a tiny bit. Okay, that's all right. It's not a perfect yolk, I must say. Not a perfect egg. All right, and I just keep the yolks for another day. I've actually got a fridge full of yolks, I must say, because we use lots of egg whites in this house. So that's 1, which goes into the bowl. Note that I'm not doing it straight into the bowl, and I'm not doing one on top of the next, because if I have the egg white in there and then do another one and it breaks, then I've lost 2 egg whites. Crack it again. I know people have got different ways of separating eggs. My mum had one of those egg separators, that you crack it into and it sits over a glass, which is quite good, but I like this way. Okay, so the yolks go in the fridge. These go away. And I am trying this morning to clean up after myself as I go along. I'm trying to be mindful of that, okay? So I'll put these away here. Okay, so the egg whites can sit there for a minute. If your egg whites have come out, eggs have come out of the fridge, I suggest you just put them in a glass of warm, not hot water for a little while, and just to bring them to room temperature, because the egg whites work much better at room temperature. Let's talk nuts. So you've divided your 1/2 cup of nuts that were in the ingredient list and 1/2 and 1/2. So it's 1/4 and 1/4 of my lovely brown roasted almonds. And you need to crush them 2 ways. So we're not going to do them together. The filling is going to be chopped. For the meringue, we want them ground. I have tried it with ground almonds, that you buy that are the ones without the skin that have been ground. And I didn't think the result was as good. If you want to buy it, you could buy ground almonds with the skin on. It's probably better, but we don't want it too fine. But I'm using this is a Breville blender. Breville, I don't know what it's called. It's like a blender thing. It makes juices and smoothies. So if you've got one of those, that's sort of a blender or a food processor or a coffee grinder or a plastic bag and a rolling pin, that will help you to crush your nuts. And I'm just going to do it in here because it's super easy and I've got it. I don't want to puree it. I don't want to make almond butter. So I've got to just get it right. Yeah. Yeah, I always get this wrong. So much more pressure to get it right when you're all watching. You know, when I'm home in the kitchen on my own, I can take 10 minutes to find the thing, but pressure. Okay, ready? I can hear bits of almond still. Perfect, okay. So I'll show you the texture. So it looks like, it's just a coarse crumb. Feels like, doesn't feel like almond meal, it's coarser than almond meal. It's sort of like sand, like when you have coarse sand. I think I said the other day to someone, it's like the sand in Melbourne on St Kilda Beach, which is not like the sand on Bondi Beach. So that's the sort of coarseness we want. I'm just going to carefully remove all of it. Okay, so we've got our nuts. Hope everybody's keeping up with me who's doing it. We've got our roasted almonds, roasted almond meal. Got the 2 egg whites in there, 125 grams of icing sugar, 1.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder and 2 teaspoons of vinegar. Okay, so Ruth says she's come on late. Yes, this is from the new book, Now for Something Sweet, and it is called the Almond Meringue Torte. And the oven needs to be, if you're cooking along, it needs to be on 150. Someone says, I wonder if 2 eggs are enough. They are actually. They make a lovely meringue for this. It actually works perfectly. I always put a pinch of salt in egg whites whenever I do egg whites. I just feel it stabilizes them a little bit more and it doesn't hurt. Just a little pinch. So I'm going to start this. And the thing with egg whites is you don't want to start it on high because it doesn't help the volume. You need to start it on low. Now, can you hear me when the beat is going? Can someone give me a thumbs up? Yeah, you can hear me, great. Okay, so I'm going to start and beat it till it's no longer opaque. So I don't want to see, sorry, till it is opaque, till it's no longer clear. I don't want to see any of the clear liquid. And when it's no longer clear, then I'm going to turn it up a bit to probably medium. You can do this by hand, as I said, but you know, you need a bit of strength. And I don't do it. If I had to do 1 egg white, I'd probably do it by hand. Okay. So you can see it's becoming opaque and the yellow liquid is disappearing and turning into large bubbles. This is unusual actually to have a meringue with icing sugar. This is the first one I've ever come across. If you can hear me, I just want to tell you where this recipe comes from. It comes from George Sternfeld. Now, George is a survivor who works at the museum, and one of my co-authors, Jackie Israel, volunteers with him at the museum, and they've become friends over the years. And he is a cook. He is an amazing cook who cooks for his friends and his family, and his stories are just beautiful. And this is one of the recipes he sent us. He says he makes it every Pesach because it's got no flour, and his friends and family now expect it. So this is George's almond meringue torte. Okay. I'm going to just turn it up a tiny bit. And as soon as it has stiff peaks, which is going to be in about 2 minutes, I'm going to start adding the sugar, but I'm going to add it 1 spoon at a time. So if everybody who's cooking along, you should be seeing a very foamy white mixture with bubbles that are quite big still. Okay, so most meringues that I've made, and probably all of you who make pavlova, make it with just white sugar or caster sugar. So I was reading up why icing sugar, and I don't know why George uses icing sugar, but it's just another option. And they say that it might make your meringue easy, like less grainy, if your meringue is ever grainy, because there are no grains of sugar to dissolve. It just sort of goes into the egg white. Okay. So what I always look for in my egg whites is when I can see the marks that the beater leaves. You know, you can really start to see, I'm sorry that I can't show you in my beater, but I'll show you actually in 1 minute. Okay. So you can see it's, I would call that soft peaks. It's not stiff. If I tipped it upside down, it would fall out, but it's definitely one mass, and the bubbles are tiny, and it is on its way to be stiff peaks, which is what we're looking for, or just below stiff peaks actually. Okay, so as soon as that's a bit stiffer, I can really see the beater marks when I look at it. So look at your egg whites, and if the marks don't go away as it goes around, you know it's just about ready. And then we're going to add 1 spoon at a time. And I've got it on medium, it's on 5 on the KitchenAid. So whatever your machine or your mixer is, just go halfway. And once that's in, I'm going to add the next one. The other thing, if I put it all in at once, I just get sugar everywhere. Just make sure it's incorporated properly. And it's a good way anytime you're putting sugar into egg whites. And another one. So we have a recipe in the new book for meringues, and they're called 23-minute meringues. And the reason they're called 23-minute meringues is because it requires 23 minutes of beating. And you really want to have a mixmaster for that, because your arm would fall off. Although my future daughter-in-law did make it when they were living in Boston with a handheld beater, and she said it was perfect. So it can be done. So that recipe came to us actually via my dad passing away, which I know is a weird thing to say, but the thing I love about our community is that when someone passes away, the people bring so much food, and it's so lovely to feel the love through the cakes and the lasagnas and the soups that people bring. And a friend of my parents, Marlon Karp in Melbourne, brought a tray of her meringues that were just out of the oven, and they were unbelievable. And so a year later or so, I remembered the meringues, and I called her and I said, please, can we have the recipe? And they're known as Marlon's Meringues in Melbourne. Everybody knows her for them. And she gave us the recipe, and I've never seen anything like it. It says, like, beat the egg whites for 8 minutes, add the sugar for 9 minutes, you know, do this for 5 minutes. And so if you follow it exactly, you get the most amazing and unique meringues. Okay. Like always, when you're using these machines, or even when you're using a handheld, you really do need to scrape down the sides, because it's not a perfect thing. For those of you who are using a KitchenAid, I learned something really clever the other day. You know how sometimes the beater doesn't quite reach the bottom? So if you're doing 2 egg whites, you can't get it. And I used to like lift the bowl and hold it, but that's pretty dangerous. There's a little screw when you lift it up, like a screw, you need a flat edge screwdriver like this. And a 1/4 turn to the right, just a 1/4, lowers it, and to the left raises it. So you can actually work out what level you want. And what KitchenAid says, there should be a paper, you should be able to slip an A4 piece of paper or a piece of paper underneath, and there should be enough room for that. So this is really good. It's for the first time it reaches the bottom. Okay, let's go. Put the sugar. It's getting thicker, it should be getting glossier. What we want is a really thick, really glossy mixture. A meringue that's going to just keep its shape. Okay. All right. I'm probably talking too much. I could probably go a little bit faster with the sugar in, but, you know, talking, cooking, it's hard to work it out sometimes. Okay, that's it. I love these glasses. These are just what we use for coffee, and they're really good when you want to get everything ready when you're cooking something, and you know, making a cake. Get your flour, your sugar, your butter, everything out, everything you need for the recipe before you start. It's a really good idea. All right. So now I'm going to do one more scrape down, and then it is supposed to beat for 10 minutes. Okay, so I know that some of you are cooking along and really don't want to do anything else while you're beating it. You might be doing it by hand. So I don't really want to do stuff, but I just want to show you how lovely and glossy it is now. I don't know if you can see it, but it's really, really shiny and thick and smooth, and it looks like liquid marshmallow almost. It really does. So we're going to keep beating. That should be for 9 minutes. Sorry, for 10 minutes. And we've probably done one, so I'm just going to do it for maybe 5 today. Okay, so we're just going to beat that quietly in the background, and I'm going to talk to you about, actually I've got to do the rest of this stuff. I wonder if I should, okay, so I'm going to do that, and then we're going to add in the other things, but just, we'll do it for 5 minutes. So those of you who are cooking along, do it for 5 minutes today. Those of you who aren't cooking along, I recommend you do it for 10 minutes when you're not in a rush. Not that we're in a rush, but you know, 10 minutes is ideal. Let's talk about the filling. Yeah. Okay. So we've got 300 mils of thickened cream. My preference is always thickened cream, only because it takes less time to whip. But by all means, if you want to use the runny cream, do it. You just got to spend a few more minutes getting it thick. Some people don't like what's in this, which I think now is, I think it used to be gelatin, but now it's just thickener. So it's probably not good either, but I like this. I've got my fruit. As I said, I've got raspberries, strawberries, and blueberries. I've got a half a cup of each, a bit more than half a cup. I like to be generous with the fruit. And I've got the other half of the roasted almonds, which I'm going to chop. Now you can chop them as roughly or as finely as you'd like. You can use other nuts. I recommend using roasted nuts because it really gives a lovely crunch in between all the creamy and smooth things that you've got. So I'm just going to chop them up. I think the best knife for cutting nuts is this one. So your fingers are out of the way and you're just doing it like this. If I was doing 2 cups of nuts, I'd probably do it in the food processor and just very carefully process it. All right. So just chop them up. Just a reminder, if anybody is cooking along, you need your oven on 150 and you need your tray with the 3 stenciled circles that we were doing before. It's funny when you have a recipe that's got 3 circles with a measurement. So this is when I got my school maths out again. You know, you learn all these things at school and you think you're never going to use them again. But I had to use the area of a circle. So I had a 20 centimetre disc originally in this recipe. There were 3 20 centimetre discs. And I had to work out, I had to halve it. So you can't just go to 10 because that's not right. So this is how I did it. For those of you who are interested in maths. 20 centimetre disc is a 10 centimetre radius. So I did pi r squared, which is the area of a circle. And I did 10 by 10, which is 100 times pi, which is 3.1. So that's 310 square centimetres in a circle that size. So I had to work out what diameter of disc would be right for half of that, which is about 150 square centimetres. Divided that by 3.1. And it's about a 7 centimetre diameter, which is a 14 centimetre circle. So there you go. I don't know how many of you that interested, but I'm quite excited to have brought back something that I thought was useless information. And we do it all the time in the kitchen when we have baking tins and we want to work out how to go half, because the measurements of the sides aren't enough. You need to look at the volume often. Okay. So chop them up. I want to see that they're almonds. Like I still want to see that there are, I want to know what nut they are when I eat it, so I'm not going to chop them any more than that. I always say that and then I keep chopping. Okay, just a few more chops. So this is just a reminder, this is a really good, safe way of chopping nuts, which can sometimes be slippery. If your board slips like mine does, just put a tea towel underneath it and it will stop doing that. Okay, that's the nuts done. So that's 1/4 cup of nuts, which I'm now going to just put back in the cup. Okay, now I'm going to chop my chocolate. Again, if you're doing heaps of chocolate, of course, you could do it in the food processor, but when there's only this much, you might as well do it by hand, I think. This is really nice chocolate to cook with. I love that it's brittle, it's easy to break. I often use the Play-Stow one from the supermarket, but I just find it a bit chunkier and harder to break and definitely harder to chop. So I want the chocolate about the same size. This is a really interesting recipe because you've got the same flavors in the meringue, but in different ways. You've got cocoa and ground nuts in the meringue, and then you've got chopped chocolate and chopped nuts in the filling. And it makes it really, really interesting texturally. I think when the recipe came to us from George, it had sugar in the cream, in the filling. And we, as we get older, all of us, don't want things so intensely sweet. And the meringue's sweet enough. So we actually removed the sugar from the cream. George was happy with that. And now we have a perfectly balanced, perfectly sweet torte. Okay, I'm chopping it up. Chopping chocolate the same way that I chop nuts. Again, hand on the top, cook's knife, and chop. And it really is a pleasure to chop this chocolate. If you just have chocolate chips at home, just use those if you like them. And you don't even have to do any chopping. All right. Okay, that looks pretty good. So you can see it's really, really rough. It's really rough. I want to taste the chocolate. I want to know it's chocolate. And I'm just going to put the almonds with it there on the board. And I'm going to mix them together and we'll use them in a minute. Okay. Now that this is thick and glossy, and I'll show you, and really marshmallowy and really shiny, I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients. So you can see, I could turn it upside down now. It's fully thick and marshmallowy and absolutely delicious. Okay, so back here. I always get, it's always hard to work out where the glass bowl fits actually. All right, now I'm going to add in 2 teaspoons of vinegar. And what the vinegar does, it's acid and it stabilizes the protein in the egg white and helps it keep its shape and its volume while it cooks. And you'll find that most egg whites have got cream of tartar or vinegar just to do that. All right, that'll do. We can finish with the machine for the moment. Put this away. Now I'm going to add the other things. So this is just the egg whites alone. And I'm going to add in, fold in the nuts. And I'm going to do it one at a time. And I'm just folding. You know, I have a silicone spatula. I'm going around the inside of the bowl and coming across the top. And sometimes I go in the other direction because I'm trying to keep the volume in the egg whites. I don't want to mix it like that because I don't want it to collapse. I want them to be as fluffy, or not fluffy, as high as they can. And then I'm adding the cocoa. Exactly the same thing. When we started writing our books, which is now 15 years ago, there were 6 of us and we all had different opinions on how to do things. And it was very interesting how sometimes we resolved matters and we could live with each other's suggestion or we changed our own view. But there's one thing that we're still divided on, and that is what to use to fold things into egg whites. I've always used a silicone spatula, and two of the girls have always used a metal spoon, and they believe that the metal spoon keeps the volume. I don't. So do it with what you like. I prefer the silicone because you can really see I'm scraping the edges and getting every last bit of it out. So what I want here is a mixture that is, it can be a little bit streaky. It doesn't have to be entirely smooth in color or texture. I don't mind a bit of the cocoa streaks. I don't want to overfold it, and I'm quite happy at that stage. The thing is, you can weigh it now if you want to be really precise. I wouldn't really do it unless I was doing it for, if I was doing it for a cookbook shoot, I would probably weigh it and divide it into 3. But for a home cooked thing, I just don't need to do it. So oven on 150 if you haven't done it yet. I've got my baking paper with the 3 14-centimeter circles, and I'm just going to, yes, and it's like a dollop in the middle of each one, like that. I mean, look at that mixture. It's just delicious. You know, it looks delicious to me. It's thick, it's heavy, it doesn't move when you dollop it onto the baking paper, which is exactly what you want. Okay, so and now I'm just going to have to guess what the 1/3 and a 1/3 looks like. Okay. I see there's a question there. Oh, hi. Watching from, oh, hello. Nice to see you from Toronto. Great to see you there. Great to see you. And thanks, Carol, for liking the way I worked out the maths, because you know what? I tried to tell my kids and they really weren't interested. So it's nice to find someone interested in my mathematical equations. All right. So I'm just getting as much as I can out. And then I'm going to grab a, don't have to have this, but I love it. It's a small offset spatula. I think Marilyn, one of my co-authors, bought it for me years ago, and it was a great discovery. So I'm just getting all the meringue off. Okay. Just checking how we're going for time. All right. That looks about right. And now I'm just going to use that to go just to the edge of the stencil, of the circle that we've traced. You want it reasonably smooth, but it actually doesn't matter because there's going to be cream and fruit between each layer, so it's fine. It's not like a cake that you're going to see the top layer. Sometimes you do a torte and you see the top layer, and it's not like that because you're not going to see it. You are going to see the edges. That's it. All right. So that's lovely, and that's going to go in the oven 150 degrees for about, I would look after 35, and it probably needs about 40, a bit less than the bigger discs. So you'll look after 35. You want it to be solid to the touch, not soft at all, and you know, looking very glazed and cooked through. Tap it a bit, it should sound a little bit hollow. So let's say 40 minutes. Okay. I'm going to go and put that over here. Sorry to leave you. And then, by magic, here is one I baked earlier. So this is what it's going to look like when it comes out like that. And yours might be a bit higher because I was a bit lazy yesterday and didn't do the whole 10 minutes. So you need to get it off the baking paper, and they will stick a bit to the baking paper. So just use a sharp knife and gently get it off. The good thing is about this, if you break the disc, it doesn't matter. You just put it together on the next layer. So I'm just trying to get these off. Now you can make these, let's say you're doing it for a dinner or someone's coming over and you want to do it on the day. You can make these a few days ahead and just keep them in an airtight container and then use them. So it's a great do-ahead dessert as well. But as I said, it does get better when you keep it in the fridge. Okay, so that's it. That's what the disc looks like. It's a bit soft inside, which is what we want. We want crisp and chewy, all of that. We just don't want crisp meringue in this. It's a very textured thing, a bit like a pavlova, but without that marshmallowy part. Okay. So we need to get everything ready for our filling. So if anyone's cooking along, you should have your discs in the oven now, and you can't fill them while they're hot. If you try to fill them while they're hot, the cream will melt and it will be a disaster. So I think it's better to let them cool for at least 45 minutes and then they'll be right to use. Okay, we just need to whip the cream, put the filling together, and you'll see how quick and easy this is. All right. I realise I've been talking a lot. It's already 11:45, goodness me. Okay, cream's going in, easy, no need to measure, 300 ml tub. Love that, actually. All right. I have this dilemma when I buy butter because I buy the unsalted, what is it, Chefs? I can't remember the brand now. I've forgotten it. And it comes in 250 and 500 gram blocks. So the 250 are just so convenient because if you need a half a block or a quarter of a block, but the bigger ones are really quite a bit cheaper, and we go through so much butter here. What do you do? All right, let me see. Okay. If anyone's got any questions, please type it. Please, I'd love to answer them while the cream is beating. What we are aiming for is thick whipped cream. Don't over whip it because then when you put it in the fridge, it just goes too hard. But you have to be able to dollop on here nicely. So when you're ready to layer it, you need to get your serving plate, whatever you're going to serve it on. It's much easier to do it that way. I'm just going to leave it on this for the moment. I'm going to whip my cream. I guess if you find the end result's not sweet enough, you just add a bit of sugar in with the cream, but I really, really don't think it needs it at all. Okay. So the cream's whipping, and the same with whipping cream. You can see the beaters leave a mark in the cream, and then you know it's pretty much ready. Has anyone over whipped cream before? When you over whip cream, you get butter and buttermilk, and once I left the cream and went in somewhere and I came back and I just had butter and buttermilk. It's a lesson, you need to be careful. Okay. So everyone should be whipping the cream. And then we're going to mix together. I'm just going to get a bowl. And I'm going to mix together my berries. If your strawberries are huge, you could cut them into quarters. These are quite big, but they'll do today. I think that could do with a minute more. What I love about this dessert is there are so many textures in it. The crisp and chewy meringue, the creamy cream, the crunchy nuts and the chocolate, and then the fruit. It's got everything in one pot, like everything you want out of a dessert. I love it. All right. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay. Perfectly done. I'm going to get another spatula. When I'm cooking, I use like 5 of these at a time. I use them all the time. Okay. How's my mess looking? Are we okay still? Okay. Take this away. So when you're ready to fill it, and I'm sorry I can't do this in real time with you because I'd have to just talk for another hour, which would probably be too much for you. I'd be very happy, but you know, I think it would be too much for you. And we're just going to, again, divide the cream in 3. If I was doing it for a photo shoot, I of course would weigh it, but I am not today. So I'm going to do cream. So bottom layer, I actually might show you. No, you know what? I'm just going to get a cake stand. Give me 1 sec, okay? I always forget something. Hold on 1 minute, all right. Okay, let's do it on this. It'll just look nicer. So, first layer on the bottom. I quite like baking paper underneath. I quite like how it looks rustic to have baking paper underneath things. But it does make it slippery, so you do need to be careful. Okay, we're putting this on, putting 1/3 of the cream. And you can use your spatula or a knife or your offset spatula. And you want to do it just, you know, a few millimeters in from the edge, because imagine when you put the layers on, it's going to collapse a little bit. Then we're going to do a third of this mixture. Like, it's already looking good. You could just serve that and it would be fantastic. Okay, a third of the fruit. And remember, you do want to see some at the edges, so make sure you also put some at the edges. Again, if you want your fruit finely cut, then by all means do it. It's really, really up to you. Second layer. I mean, I think it looks fantastic already. I think that looks about right. Okay. I mean, the way this cream feels is just lovely. It is so smooth, it's so light, and it just spreads so beautifully. And that's really perfectly beaten. Perfect texture. Okay, again, the fruit. Again, go to the edges so you get a peek of what's inside. And maybe remember to save a bit of everything. I did it the other way around, but it actually doesn't matter. And if you do it on your serving plate, make it, then you get a little bit of scattered chocolate and nuts around, which is quite nice as well. You know, we like rustic. We don't like things to look factory made, do we? Okay, and then the next layer. Okay. I think that's the hardest thing, is to work out the quantities of the cream, and often I end up with less at the top or more at the top, and you can't go backwards. So I think I'm going to have more cream on the top than the middle. That's all right. And when you put it in the fridge for a day, the cream sort of sets wherever it is, and it becomes much easier to cut. Like if we were to eat it now, which we absolutely could, I've got my kids coming for lunch and I'm going to serve it in a few hours, and they will be very happy to eat it, although my daughter says it's much better tomorrow or the next day, and she may be right. Okay, fruit on top. And as I said, you can use any of the berries or any fruit that you think goes nicely on the top. You know, if blueberries are just too expensive or out of season, which they often are too expensive, then choose something else. There's no rules with the berries. So just make sure it's nice and even, not the leaning tower like mine was. And then the last sprinkle of chocolate and nuts. I don't know about you, but I'm standing here wanting to cut a big piece and eat it. It just looks so, so, so good. Okay, that's it. So there is my version of George Sternfeld's almond meringue torte. And it looks exactly like it does in the book. There's no magic. There's no trickery. Careful baking paper, it is slippery. So that's it. That's the almond meringue torte. As I said, it's good today. It's good in the fridge tomorrow, the next day, probably even the next day. Probably got 4 days to eat this. And if I was on my own, I would happily eat a quarter a day, and you're getting 4 different desserts because the texture changes as the time goes on. So any questions? Yes, from Shirley. What would happen if you put the cream enough? Will it all collapse? Yeah, if it's too runny, it's just going to run down the sides and you're not going to get the layers, won't be able to sit on it. So you've got to whip it really well, but not too much. You know, that's probably the most important stage, to get that cream exactly like this. Today I've done it perfectly. I don't always. Today was a good one. Any more questions I'd love to answer? Anyone? Does it get more tender? Yeah, it actually does. The meringue loses its crispness a bit, you know, that very crisp edge that it has. I just want to show you, because I made another batch yesterday, and I sort of didn't mix this batch enough. I didn't give it enough time, and it's still good, and I would still use it. And I'm going to keep these for another day. Maybe I should just break one and show you, actually. I want to show you that it's now soft from yesterday, and that is also fine. There's a wide range of what your meringue can be like. It's not like making a meringue to serve as a meringue where everyone's judging the outside and the inside. This becomes a delicious dessert, and the meringue will be what the meringue will be. Thank you, Renee. Nice to have you here. Is that Renee from the Gold Coast, I think, perhaps? Okay, so how many does this serve? Depends. I think it serves 4 to 5, maybe 6, but no more than 6. I mean, but I think, you know, it's would I eat a quarter? It's probably quite big, so probably 6. I think it serves 6. The oven is on a 150, not fan forced. So if you've got a hot fan forced oven, probably do 140. It's good if you know your oven, and always check it earlier. So I would check this at 30 minutes, and if it looks done and cooked and it's solid, you could pull it out. Any more questions? I'd love to answer anything else. Thank you for all joining me today. I just want to remind you all to please go check what's on Dunera, dunera.org.au. They have amazing events in all sorts of areas, not just food. But food-wise, I hope to see you at 11 a.m. on Thursday, where I'm going to be chatting to Michael Shafran, the New York guy who started Brooklyn Boy Bagels in Sydney. And I'm trying to get him to give us a tour of his factory, because I'd love to see how he actually makes the bagels. And it's an interesting story, because he was a food writer and came to Sydney and said, no good bagels, what am I going to do? Start a business. And then next Monday, Melissa Port from Mia Cucina will be here teaching you how to make her family's amazing, I'm sure, pickles, because everything she cooks is amazing. So that'll be a great one to watch. And then the following Thursday, the 18th, we will be baking babka with Bet, with Australia's best Bette Midler impersonator, who sings beautifully, doesn't cook so well. So I'm going to be teaching her how to make babka, and she'll be singing. That'll be really fun. And so that's what's coming up in the food area. And it's lovely to have you all here, and I hope you keep coming back and joining in. If you've got any comments, please send to Dunera. Any suggestions, any nice criticisms, I'm happy to take. Would really love to hear, so we can improve what we're doing and make it more enjoyable for all of you. But I'm pretty happy with this today. It worked out really nicely. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And I'm ready to dive in. I don't know about you. Okay, yeah, and please tell your friends about Dunera, because we're trying, this is all by word of mouth. We're really trying to spread the word, and anyone, age is irrelevant, is interested in these things. There's so much on offer. It's really wonderful. Okay, anyone else, any more comments or questions about the torte before I sign off? Because I'm happy to answer anything. Anyone else? Thanks, Stacey. Thank you. And thanks, Merle. Great to see you here. Anyone else? Questions, comments? Easy way to cut it up. Yeah, it's a good question, Shirley. Day one, it's messy. There's no doubt about it. You know, I would get a knife like this, and I would start in the center, and I would just go down like that. That's how I would do it. I just do it like that, and you're going to get it all over. So center and cut. I'm not going to cut it open, because I just want to, I want to show my kids when they come over how beautiful it is. So I think that explains the cutting. Go in the center with a big knife. All right, any more questions, comments? Anyone else? I don't mind if you want to unmute and say something as well. It's okay now to have a voice. Thank you all for coming. I can only see the first page, so I can only see Sue and Maya and Elaine and Denise and Sheila and Ruth and Helen and Lily and Rosalind and Esther, Renee, Leonie. I can't see anyone else. I'm sorry, because I can't reach to move that over. So thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. Hi, everybody. Oh, hello. Now I can see. Thanks. Hi, Sharon, Suzanne, Carol. I say Carol, yeah. So nice to see you all, and I'll see you next week. Well, the week after, actually. I'll see you on Thursday.